Hello, my friends. How's everybody doing out there today? I'm coming to you on a beautiful Wednesday morning here in South Alabama. We are back to fall-like temperatures. Went over to Pensacola for the day yesterday. A little bit disappointed. Sometime during the pandemic, my favorite Asian market over there stopped getting that much fruit. I mean, they've still got a little fruit, but I used to get mangoes there. I used to get a number of things there, so didn't score on any mangoes or any sort of tropical fruit, but that's okay because I've been getting some pretty decent papayas here at my at Publix, and actually got one at Walmart this morning. But today I'm here to talk about the raw vegan diet, food addiction, and weight. Now, let me just say, going in, this is one of those kind of, like, people are emotional. I'm not a very emotional person. I was born in 1964. We used different language in 1964. I was a fat kid. No, I wasn't a big boned kid. No, I wasn't a large kid. I was a fat kid, and I was called a fat kid, and I'm glad I was called a fat kid because we weren't all that sensitive back then. If somebody called me a fat kid, parents were not called to the principal's office. And looking back, it's funny because I'm just telling you from what I see too. A lot of stuff I talk about is anecdotal, just from what I see. But here in South Alabama, man, boy, people have gained a lot of weight over in the last 3 or 4 decades because, like I say, I was a fat kid. I'm trying to think back to think if I was the fattest kid in my grade. There were a few, but the point I'm getting at is if I was that same little fat kid now, I wouldn't even be noticed because I wasn't even all that fat as compared to ones today. So I just got that out of the way just to say, like, I'm just not into sugarcoating this or tiptoeing around it. I mean, it is what it is. Accept certain facts and, live how you want to live. I'm not saying you should never go out there and bully people because of their weight, judge them on there. But you need to know real is real. I mean, when you look in the mirror at the end of the day and you look at your face to face, don't lie to yourself. Know what you're doing. Food addiction. When I first came to a raw vegan diet, and I like to use cheese because cheese is one of those that comes up in food addiction. Now, people like to push back real hard if you say anything remotely about food addiction. So let me make it very clear. I do understand and I do believe that food addiction exists. It just doesn't exist to the extent that people are using it. Like, there's some people that actually have bona fide food addictions, and then there's other people that just kind of use that as an excuse for why they're not losing the weight they want to, or why they're not getting whatever results they want to get health-wise. Food addiction, there's not that many people with actual food addiction. And a lot of times you just have to discern, is it really a food addiction or is it just a strong craving? Now, before I started this lifestyle, just like everybody, I grew up loving cheese. Now, people, like, I'm using cheese because people say cheese has something in there that's similar to heroin that works in the brain, blah, 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 blah. I liked cheese a lot. I loved cheese. In fact, I was that guy that could take one of those little, the little metal things that chicken pot pies came in. I used to just cut cheese up in one of those, put it in the oven, melt it, and eat it with a spoon. So I love cheese. I understand that. When I became vegan, when I started eating plant-based, I was living in San Jose, Costa Rica. And one of the things I had a job in the city. And what I used to do every day, I'd take a break, I'd walk downtown, and there were a number of pizzerias there where you'd just get slices. And you'd basically just stand at the counter, fold your slice, and eat it. Love those slices. When I adapted to this lifestyle and I started learning about what certain things do in your body, and especially dairy and cheese in particular, it was just something in my head. I would still walk through downtown and I would see those slices and I knew they were still going to taste good, but as I'm looking at that slice of pizza, I could visualize in my body, I eat that, and as that cheese, this is what it's doing going through my body, and this is what is accumulating when I eat this over and over. So even though I still very much liked cheese, wanted that slice of cheese pizza, I just realized that that was not my food anymore. And like the reason I said I'm lumping in food addiction and weight loss here is because people, like I say, just kind of like to give themselves various excuses on both of these. Now, just like I say, yes, food addiction is a thing, it exists, and some people really struggle with that. I don't want to downplay that. Some people actually really struggle with that. Similarly, some people actually have, medical reasons, whether it's thyroid, whether it's women with hormonal issues, whether it's genetic, whether it's whatever, that they do have problems with late weight loss, but it's a very, very small percentage. So for every 10 people that say I can't lose weight, I have an actual reason I can't lose weight, maybe two, and I'm being very generous, maybe 2 or 3 out of those 10 actually can't lose weight. And that's why I always say when it comes to the weight loss, you have to, okay, if you're saying that, think of it like this. We're going into court. I'm being a little silly here, but think of it like you're the defense attorney. You're defending your stance on, I can't lose weight. Now, before you're going to make people or a jury believe you, you're going to have to show them some evidence. So, if this is really true, you have some reason why you can't lose weight, you have to have a food journal. You have to have a food journal, and you have to write every single bite of food, everything you drink, and the amounts down in there. Then you can take that to somebody, and then you can show somebody over a period of time, and I'm not talking about just for you do something for 3 days and you don't lose weight, and you're like, oh, I can't lose weight. You take that food journal to somebody, one of your coaches online, not really my first recommendation, but to somebody knowledgeable, and they can look through there and they can go, well, here's where it is. And a lot of times it's things that you're not stupid for not seeing them, but you're new to this kind of thing. And there can be, like, there's hidden calories in things. There's hidden ingredients in food that can prevent people from releasing weight. So if you've got that food journal, you can take it to somebody that knows what they're doing, and they can tell you right on. And if assuming you're being honest and you're actually being accurate about what you write down, you can take that to somebody that knows what they're doing, and they can say, okay, here's what you need to do. You need to do this differently. Don't eat as much of this. Eat more of that. They can tweak, bing, bang, boom. You're on down the road. Otherwise, it just kind of gets into this kind of, especially when it's online, and like I say, we get back to this whole issue of, things we can say and things we can't say before people, kind of get their feelings hurt. Right there, it's in black and white. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. So, like I say, that's not to poke at people, and that's not to say you're lying about this or that. That's just for you. That's kind of rhetorical. That's for you to say, okay, do I really have a reason why I can't lose weight? Or have I kind of been fooling myself? Or are there things in my diet that I'm just not aware of that maybe I need some help eliminating or adding to make it work a little bit more for me? Now, with the food addiction part of it, I would just say it's simple. It's as simple as this. If you are truly convinced you have a food addiction, like maybe I don't know. I don't have a food addiction, so I haven't looked around to see what the signs are for true food addiction. But if you really, after everything, you're like, I've got a food addiction, no matter what I do, I can't get rid of, eating this, whatever. Well, then there's only one solution to that. There's only one solution to that. What would you do what would you advise to somebody that was an alcoholic or had a very severe alcohol addiction? What would you advise to somebody that was hooked on crack, that had a problem with meth, or that, like the smack, they're heroin addict? You would tell them to go to rehab. You would tell them to get in a 12-step program. You would tell them to go seek out therapy. You would tell them to do something, drastic like that, because addiction is addiction. So if we're being real and you are saying you have a food addiction, then logically the only step is to go get professional help and actually treat it like an addiction, and not act like, well, a food addiction is different. Oh, well, I know people out there that I guarantee they would agree with me. Like, yes, if you have a drug dependency or an alcohol, you go get help. But then they kind of look at you funny if you say, okay, if you've got a food addiction, go get help. So why do you think you're going to be able to get over your food addiction, an actual real addiction, any more than you can get over, like a drug or an alcohol addiction? We have just changed so much. Just I'm gonna finish up just going back to kind of the time when I was born. We have just a lot of where we are right now, health wise, weight wise. We're bigger. Why are we bigger as a society than we were 50 years ago? A lot of it, I can tell you. I go back to people like my grandparents. And I'm 58, so we're not talking like back in the 1850s or anything. But my grandparents, I remember even when I was a little kid in the 1960s and the 1970s, my grandparents had a garden, and I don't mean one of those cute little things out in your backyard where you grow a few tomato plants, maybe have a couple of cucumbers. I mean, they had like rows of corn, they had rows of peas, they had watermelons, they had squash, black-eyed peas, all the good summer vegetables. And my grandmother had one of those big ass freezers out on the back porch, one of those standing freezers out on the back porch. So we ate fresh stuff that my grandparents had grown all summer. And then the women, they packed up that stuff, I guess they blanched it and froze it. And we had it all throughout the year, so we were eating real food. Most of the people, listen, I've been back in this area for 5 years now, and I've noticed one thing, that my generation, a lot of the people that I went to school with, or just like people I see of a similar age to me, are fatter than the last generation because, we started eating processed food. We started getting fast food, like in the 60s and 70s was when fast food really became prolific and was everywhere. We got more processed, more convenience in the grocery stores, and more convenience in the grocery stores. And that's probably, for anybody that does have the food addictions, it probably is tied in with all these additives, preservatives, and chemicals in this processed food. So anyhow, once again, not to beat up on anybody or whatever, I just hope you can use this information to move forward, benefit your health, lose the weight if you need to, but just to know the difference. And like I say, if it's not a food addiction, then you just need to figure out, okay, I just need to stop eating whatever it is. If it's a real food addiction, go get help. Go get help. I'll look straight in the camera and tell you that. Go get help. And the same thing with the weight loss. If you're being real with yourself, writing down the things and being honest about everything you're consuming in your body, you'll be able to figure it out a lot better than if you're kind of lying to yourself or fudging the truth or not really paying attention to what you're doing. So anyhow, just my 2 cents on the subject. And like I say, that's just everything I do on this channel is my opinion. I'm not any kind of an expert. All I am is just, I've been doing this for 10 years. I feel good, but I'm not the end all be all. So anyhow, hope you guys enjoyed this one today. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you here again in a couple of days. Peace.